Don in London, hello. It's December the 18th and it's very seasonal. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder, but there's snow coming down quite thick and fast, and London airports are shutting down. Flights are being cancelled out of the country, so people who are looking for a getaway are a bit disappointed today, and maybe they won't make it by Christmas, but I hope they do, and I hope they work it all out. My video is all about recovery from addiction to substance or behaviour. My addictive substance was alcohol, so I'm an alcoholic in recovery, one day at a time, and I was equally able to be addictive in behaviour around people, places and things. I get obsessed about getting things right, the right relationship, the right work environment, striving for perfection, but I didn't even know I was doing it. I was just trying to fit in the best I could. But I always lent heavily on alcohol to take the edge off, because my mind wouldn't keep quiet. It was always full of noise about how to be the best or whatever I could be, and to share being the, well, not necessarily to brag or ego, because I didn't even know that that was what I was running on. An ego so thin and brittle that it would break very easily. Anyway, I've found recovery. Thank you, family, friends, community, professionals, and in particular, on an ongoing basis, the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I share a little bit about what AA is here, simply to share it in a way which might be helpful to people who are new or interested in being sober. That's it, a desire to be sober, and I share from AA literature. I've just dropped it on the floor. The AA preamble. Try not to get out of camera range. This thing, the AA preamble here, which is shared at every meeting, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And then I share from the Daily Reflections, this book, and because I found I can have more time on YouTube, I might share from this book as well, the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. And it's quite a neat package, AA. It's full of unique, authentic people, all different, with one similarity, and that's a desire not to drink today. And that's how it works. So in meetings of AA, where you hear many voices of recovery, that's where it works best. So I'm not a spokesman for AA, never can be, never will be. I'm just saying how it works for me. And if I didn't share about AA, well, there'd be no point, because that's where my nourishment and my emotional and spiritual balance comes from. And when I say emotional, it's my feelings fit the experience I have today, or if they're out of balance, I know there's something up. So my feelings fit my experience, and spiritual is the ability to cope with reality. So it's been said by many religious people for centuries. So forget all about control. It's not about that at all. It's about freedom of choice to live life as you choose, with your faith and your belief and everything that makes you the person you are and me the person I am. So AA, what is it? This preamble shares the message. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I like to read that as it is. I don't want to recite it, because then it's a recitation from memory. It's not real in the moment, so that's why I read it out. And in there it says AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. And the reason why it says that is we are allowed to have every affiliation we choose, but we keep that as our own belief and understanding about our lives. And we go for the similarity, which is a desire to stop drinking and stay stopped on a daily basis. And so far it's working for me. But in the early days it was very hard. It was very hard indeed to make sense of anything because my brain was so befuddled. And it's less befuddled. I'm discombobulated. It's very strange to not have broadband and not have any access to the internet at the moment. But it's encouraged me to do other things, like put the draft excluder around the door and a curtain over the door, which I've been planning to do for weeks, if not months. Sort out my toolkits, not only the ones I share about here to keep well and be sober, but the other toolkits I have for banging in nails, putting in screws, hanging up the pots and pans, and generally tidying up my cupboards. So a lot of housekeeping. Thank you, broadband, for not being there. But, you know, daily reflection to me is my toolkit, part of it. So for December the 18th, and I hope I can upload these when I can, soon. It says here, honesty with newcomers, and this is so important. Tell him exactly what happened to you. Stress the spiritual feature freely. So what happened to me? Well, spiritually bankrupt, on my knees, too many times in hospital, too many times saying I can do this on my own. I can do this with help from my family and friends. And of course, if I couldn't stop me, nor could my family and friends. And what really, really worked was being able to lean on fellowship, the greater number of people who stay sober a day at a time, who knew exactly what was going on in my head in early days and showed me simple ways to just keep sober today. And number one was go to meetings, as many as possible in the first 90 days, and I did. He goes on to say, the marvel of AA is that I tell only what happened to me. I don't waste time offering advice to potential newcomers, for if advice worked, nobody would get to AA. In other words, even though we've been given all the advice under the sun, and we're in a pickle, on our own we can't sort it out, or at least I couldn't. And it is leaning on the greatest number of people. Because if I lent on family, or one person, I would probably pull them down into my pit of despair, and they too would suffer. All I have to do is show what has brought me sobriety, and what has changed my life. If I fail to stress the spiritual feature of AA's program, I am being dishonest. The newcomer should not be given a false impression of sobriety. I am sober only through the grace of my higher power, and it's your higher power which is going to work for you. We lean on fellowship, which is a higher power of wisdom, experience, strength and hope, of living sober, and there is other elements as well. My high power, for me, is truth, the absolute truth, not my opinion. Always striving for the truth in the day, not my opinion. Love, that is the ability to love, be loved back and useful. And wisdom, which I get from other people. And it's very much what Gandhi said, God is truth. Simple as that. You know, the truth of the universe, really beyond me. So I rely on my good conscience, which I feel is the channel through which the common good comes, of understanding how to be a part of society and not try and control anything. Freedom of choice in the moment of now. And that makes it possible for me to share with others. So if I share honestly with newcomers, and it doesn't matter whether it's a newcomer or an old-timer, old-timers will find me out and say, are you sure about that? And the answer is, no, I'm not. But the 12 steps of AA, practicing the 12 steps, is keeping me as a unique, authentic human being, with my own spiritual beliefs in truth, love and wisdom. Wisdom which comes from other people. And I'm very lucky. So that was the daily reflections. And after the daily reflections I share about the serenity prayer. It's so simple. I don't do it because it's so simple. I think I know it, which is why I have purposeful forgetting around my reflections and meditations. because I need to start each day afresh. So when I start my day, I say to myself, I'm powerless over people, places and things, and if I try and control them, life will get unmanageable, because not only am I trying to control them, I am their jailer and also a prisoner. And if I were to drink again, all the old insanity would come back. So it came to believe that a power greater than me would restore me to sanity. Turned out to be the wisdom of others, being loved back, and seeking the truth of now, my spiritual connection, and then letting go and letting good things happen, or let go, let God. Let God guide me, or good conscience, which said, don't go out in that snow, you can see it almost falling as if it was going to be a solid piece out there. And I love it, about 4 inches has just landed in the last 20 minutes. Wow. Anyway, that's first part. 12 Steps, 12 Traditions. I was reading from it yesterday. And it was all about how far do we go with anonymity and who do we tell about our situation. As we are trying to get sober as a newcomer, it's obvious that within AA, the seal of anonymity is sacrosanct. It's called the spiritual foundation of the program, anonymity. Simply, it's a place where people can talk freely with their peers. Everybody's the same size, unique, authentic, with their own ideas, but we're all equal in our ability to speak our truth, or what we think is the truth. But in early days, we'd talk a lot of twaddle. That's an English word. And anonymity means inside the rooms and meetings and friendships that we form, we keep other people's anonymity. We don't talk about them. We don't, as it said in that passage in the Daily Reflections, we share what happens to us. And that's what I do. So I never talk about other people's stuff. They're anonymous, but I was never so. So in here, it goes on to say, then came our first few excursions into major publicity, which were breathtaking. Cleveland's plain dealer articles about us ran that town's membership from a few into hundreds overnight. The news stories of Mr. Rockefeller's dinner for Alcoholics Anonymous helped double our total membership in a year's time. Jack Alexander's famous Saturday Evening Post piece made AA a national institution. Such tributes as these brought opportunities for still more recognition. Other newspapers and magazines wanted AA stories. Film companies wanted to photograph us. Radio and finally television besieged us with requests for appearances. What should we do? As the tide offering top public approval swept in, we realized that it would do us incalculable good or great harm. Good or great harm, that's the way it works. Everything would depend upon how it was channeled. We simply couldn't afford to take the chance of letting self-appointed members present themselves as messiahs representing AA before the whole public. And I agree with that, because I don't represent AA. Never can, never will. The promoter instinct in us might be our undoing. If even one publicly got drunk or was lured into using AA's name for his own purposes, the damage might be irreparable. At this altitude, press, radio, films and television, anonymity, 100% anonymity, was the only possible answer. Here principles would have to come before personalities without exception. And I sort of agree with that, because I'm so glad I don't represent AA. I only represent what I know about me and my recovery, which includes this. And it's so important to understand why I do these, because there is nobody out there, and I wish there were more voices out there saying something about their recovery, so other people who are in recovery, because it is really for people who are in recovery. Nobody else is interested. You're only interested if you have a problem or you know somebody who does. And the answer is, as was asked of me, what do I do about this? Is not connected with alcohol, this is about drug addiction of many substances. How on earth do I help that person when they cannot help themselves? And I have to say, ultimately, if we can lean on many people, it's like a safety net. If we can lean on many people, hear many voices, be associated with them, anonymous people who make it possible, who share love and understanding and wisdom, share their truth as far as they can, and sometimes opinion and beliefs, but we can accept or reject anything. We keep hold of what keeps us sober. Truth, love and wisdom for me. The absolute spiritual part of my program. Spiritual is truth. Can't deny it. Truth is truth. And I'm just learning every single day what the truth may be for now. And then tomorrow there'll be a bit more truth. All good. So that serenity prayer again, to God of good conscience. It's the can do, cannot do. What I can do today and what I cannot do today, and learning the difference. So as a prayer without any embellishment, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. For me, just for today.
Don in London, hello. It's December the 18th, 2009. Good morning. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, also addictive or cross-addicted. Because if we're not addicted to one thing, it comes out another way. So for me, alcohol, and combined with workaholic relationships, collecting, materialistic, you name it. And underneath all of that, probably not knowing who I was, full of fear, putting on a brave face, and utilising the ego, or that brittle shell that covers up all the stuff inside, or even the emptiness that is there. So these days I try not to cover up a day at a time, not try to put a brave face on, and hopefully my ego remains just enough when confidence is lacking. So it's all about balance in life and balance in the day. And we can get bent out of shape for a day, a week, a month, a year, or in my case, drinking for 35 years. The first drink did the damage. It took the edge off. It gave me conviviality, relaxed me, made me sleepy, made me happy, made me energetic, anything. It just sort of improved on what I had. And what I had mainly was lack of confidence, lack of faith, and a misunderstanding about how the world worked, or how my world could work with better choices made in the moment. So I had to let go of a lot of ideas about how life ought or should have been. So nobody's given a special favour in this life, and sometimes maybe we are materialistically better off. I certainly wasn't, and I had to work very hard for everything. But that's not to complain or to be feeling like I've been singled out for special treatment by the universe. It's just the way it turned out. And we need to endeavour to find happiness. But happiness is not the only goal. It's how to deal with life and life's terms in recovery. So less fear, less brave facing, less ego, a bit more courage, faith and confidence to deal with matters on a daily basis is where I am now. And what helped me get there? Well, friends, family, who I saw last night, people I saw and haven't seen for quite a while, have seen me not in recovery, and the life and soul of the party with a drink in my hand, and now they see me not as the life and soul of the party, but just part of the party, with a drink of water or Coke or something else. And it was good. So the difference these days is, do I need an alcoholic drink or a beverage which will change my feelings to improve my mood and be a part of a party or a part of life? And the answer is no. And actually it diminishes my ability, or makes my ability less so, to cope. So I try not to drink on a daily basis, and that's been going on for some years. And of course the obvious questions came out last night. How do you feel about drinking Coke when we're all drinking alcohol? Well, that actually came from maybe one person. And the question always comes along because in some way, underneath all of that, what if they, and this is not true in this case, but what if they were in my shoes? How would they behave? And would they feel like they are missing out on something? And the gift is, with a bit of recovery behind us, we don't miss out on anything. We see exactly what is going on, and when the party is getting to a place where nobody's going to remember anything, we can leave quietly and without fuss. So I'm really pleased that I saw everybody, and when I got there, one or two worse that were. But that's just the way life is, and it was good to be a part of. Anyway, so what keeps me sober on a daily basis? Well, I have to work at it and live it and find a way. And I couldn't do it on my own, and a fellowship came along into my life, and I was a very reluctant joiner. In fact, it took me, from my first meeting to my first sober attempt, I guess, was a long time. And many instances of trying to do it my way, and my self-will failed. And what I've realised is, although AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is the fellowship which keeps me sober, there are many ways to keep sober, and we all find our unique, authentic path. But AA does work for me, and I share about it here. And I share the statement of intent, and it goes like this: the intent of the fellowship is simple. So simple, I don't like it. I didn't like it when I first got there, because it asked me to do one thing I didn't want to do, and that was to give up drinking. So I only have to do it on a daily basis now, I realise, and then not be forgetful about it. So the AA statement of intent goes like this: Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses or opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that's why I did these videos in the first place, and also because a lot of people I know can't get out and about, or are distant from meetings of AA. And that's part of the bedrock of the fellowship, is going to meetings, learning how to live a 12-step program. That's to live it, not study it, not be educated. Well, we have to be educated to start with, but then live it, and we make progress. So it's not about being perfect ever. Otherwise, I wouldn't have worked it. So it's progress, and it's a spiritual program. And the reading I'm going to share in this book, Daily Reflections, actually says that. So, no illusions, but the idea or understanding of spiritual is a personal one. So, my understanding of spiritual, as one Archbishop once said, it's the ability to cope with life as it is today. And maybe I just made it a bit bigger. It's the universal truth of now. Not my version of truth, but the actual truth of now. So, I learn every day how to be sober, how to live life, how to add and understand what is going on for me and who I am. So spiritual is living in the moment for me, and we all are spiritual, whether we like it or not. We're all living in the moment, and the truth is around us, should we wish to engage in it. It's as simple as that. So a spiritual program I am in, and I like it. And more people, other people, or many people, have very firm religious beliefs, and that's fine too. And the great news about AA, it's a broad church. You can be who you like, develop who you are, and have your own beliefs and follow your own unique, authentic path. The greatness of this program. We all tolerate each other and love each other. So, the reading for today, because time is short and I've gone on a bit. Honesty with newcomers. Tell him or her what happened to you. Stress the spiritual feature freely, which is what I'm doing today. The marvel of AA is that I tell you only what happened to me. I don't waste time offering advice to potential newcomers, because anybody who offered me advice, I just rejected it. I don't for if advice works, nobody will get into AA. All I have to do is show what has brought me sobriety and what has changed my life. If I fail to stress the spiritual feature of AA's program, I am being dishonest. The newcomer should not be given a false impression of sobriety. I am sober only through the grace of my higher power, and my higher power is universal truth. And that makes it possible for me to share with others, and also know when I'm not in the truthful bit, and that truth is actually being learned as I go along. I'm just learning it. So the gift for me in the program of AA is when I share the truth, as I understand it today, of what it's like to be sober, and that my higher power is truth, universal truth, the one I'm learning, not the one I thought I knew or think I know. It's the one which is developing as we all develop, living the truth of now. And the serenity prayer to acceptance, when I say to God or good conscience, it's your belief system and your spiritual connection which is so important. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I need to do this. It's to learn the wisdom to know the difference, just one day at a time.